If you were given the opportunity to become an immortal, would you accept? Why not? Write in the comments what you think about it. Enjoy the show. Story 1. Given there are no conditions, I'll assume the world and everything around us remain the same. I'll also treat immortality like something that stops your aging because the prospects of being a talking dust after 500 years are difficult to imagine. And after all these assumptions, my answer? Not a chance. It will be tormenting to see my loved ones die. After a while, because of my experience and the fact that I am from the old times, I'd feel incredibly alienated from everyone and will go insane for sure. My takes on this. The only people who want to be immortal are the ones who have nothing, no one to live for. Just an opinion, maybe wrong. Vampires in movies and books are unrealistically calm and sane. If I was 500 years old vamp, I'd sunbathe in the morning when the sun is weaker, so I get to feel something. If you are immortal and you get a life imprisonment, you're screwed. Story 2. No, on the basis of living in the same body and never dying that I assume you mean. I believe the soul is inherently immortal and lives on. I would never want to be stuck in one life forever because it makes everything meaningless if you continue for perpetuity and witness every rise and fall. Making the most of the time you have is a precious concept that I think a lot of people mistake the meaning in. Story 3. Even with no conditions, I'd say no, but I have a disability and can't lie to save my life. Not to mention, you'd have to explain why you aren't dead, find a way to fake being mortal, to not let the mortals know your secret. I imagine a situation similar to Bram Stoker's Dracula. You wind up isolated from the world and alone while time just passes by. Eventually, time becomes meaningless and nothing will make sense to you anymore. Honestly, I'm not really enjoying my state of existence right now, and honestly, I'd probably go insane if I had to live indefinitely with it. Story 4. It seems like a blessing and a curse. On one hand, I get to gain unfathomable knowledge and probably learn and understand literally everything in this world, and that will definitely be an advantage. But like the top comment said, what's the T and C's? Do I get to be a young me, or do I age differently? But obviously, I will have to face the loss of Pole close to me, and always knowing that the people I involve with will eventually leave me is just a sad thought, and eventually make me stop forming any connections too. So I guess nope, to be born is a miracle, and to die is a gift. Story 5 depends on the stipulation. If you mean you age physically, but can't die, then absolutely not. If it meant being immortalized at a certain age, then perhaps. Only major downside is getting a lifetime without parole sentence in your future if you ever find yourself criminally curious. Forever immortal as a spirit with no body may also be interesting, but these types of hypotheticals give me anxiety since watching Doctor Who. Story 6, honestly, I think I'd pass for a couple reasons. Ideally, it would be nice to not worry about dying, but if you knew you lived forever, what would you live for? If you did live forever, you'd have to live forever, buying food, having shelter, water, the basic human necessities. It would be a sad life watching all your friends and family age and then die. I mean, if you have siblings and stuff, sure, they'd have kids, but how many generations would that go through where you're like, oh, I'm your 6X great-grandfather's brother? Would they even want to know you? Last but not least, I believe in heaven and have hope of going there one day. The world will come to an end, and I'd rather join my family one day then live in an ever-breaking world and society. Story 7. Yes. The reason why is I believe several hundreds or thousands of years out, we will have cured many of the issues that are problems today, many medical issues such as cancer, ailments that come with aging, and we'll have the ability to go to other planets, simulate incredible realities, and humans might not have to work a fifth as hard in the future. People have been thinking the world would go to hell for thousands of years, and it turns out they've always been wrong. Imagine telling someone in the 1300s about drone shows, iPhones, cars, or antibiotics. Now imagine that someday in 2700, how we will look to people then. I want to see someday how great the world becomes. If I don't have the option to be immortal, I want to spend my life moving technology medicine forward and contribute to the next big finding, invention, or curing climate change. Story 8. Okay, assuming that immortal means unkillable, I cannot be killed by anything, and that I was born in the 21st century. I'd say no because of the following reasons. Assuming that I was born a human and was given immortality, there's a TLDR section BTW. What would life mean? We humans are not supposed to live for eternity. We give value for everything because it is they are useful and will vanish one day, and that fate will be coming to me. So by just not dying, I'll just alone with loneness and memories of the good events that has long passed, which will become a torture for me to see all the good and bad go away to emptiness. People will be curious about me. They might even not longer classify me as a human, but rather an anomaly. They will experiment on me to understand what made me in this immortal position, And if I had parents, I would not doubt that scientists will conduct tests on them to further investigate immortality. Heck, they might even lock me up to avoid people talking about me and not let the outer world know about me. 3. Will people matter to me? Assuming that we live on and not anything that is like a Armageddon or world-ending scenario comes to play, will I still care about the people around me? Because I would have stayed long enough to possibly see every type of individual and event, to the point I know they'll one day will die and the cycle repeats again of meeting them and seeing them perish. Will I lose my humanity and sanity? 4. When the end comes, as like the universe collapsed, will I exist into the next universe, just to witness the entire cycle of life? It will become repetitive and boring, like I already know what had happened. The thing that might counter this and make it into a positive is that I change the events, so to see what happens if, for example, Newton didn't make the laws of the motion. 5. When you stated immortal, what part of me will be immortal? Like, does my body regenerate? Because even if that's the case, that would mean that possibly people will try to eat me because I can easily regenerate, and if so, will there a part of me that is not destroyable in any circumstance because I need to have part to regenerate everything? On contrast to not being able to regenerate, I suppose that I have the most durable biomaterial on the entire ever-expanding world. TLDR, life will be hard to give meaning to since everything will go. People might lock me up and conduct experiments on me, and if I have parents to them too. Since I will live forever, I might not care about people, which might be insane and lose the sense of humanity. If the universe collapses and I continue to the next one, I will relive every event that has occurred. The thing that is positive about this is that I can change it to see what happens. I might have the most durable body in the universe or the most regenerative body in the universe. Story 9, I mean, yes and no. Yes, because there's a lot of things I don't want to miss out on. I want to see what life will be like 500 years from now. Hell, even 1,000 years from now. But no, because life is absolutely shitty right now. Not just economically, I've taken one loss after another over the last few years, and I'm still mourning. And I know if I were to live for hundreds of years, I'll take more loss after loss, until eventually I just cut myself off from society to save myself from it. That, or I lose all emotions completely, then there won't be any fun in that. So it's a difficult answer. Also, am I immune to aging, or from anything that could kill me physically? That's a big factor. I'd rather take the immune to aging, but being invincible would be dope as shit too. I'd get a lot done with that. Only good things OFC. Story 10, absolutely not, and I state my reasons. When all life on Earth ends, you'd have nothing to do. When the Earth itself ends, you'd just be stranded in the darkness of the universe forever. You could get trapped under cement, a cave collapses on you, and nobody would ever know, so you're stuck there for all eternity. This one is terrifying. If you got bored with existence and wanted to off yourself, that would be impossible, given immortality doesn't wear off. If you got a severe and usually lethal injury, you'd have to suffer through that pain for a long time. If you became blind, deaf, or disabled, you could have assistance from other people. But if everyone on Earth dies, you'd be helpless for the rest of existence. Story 11. Being a true immortal scares me. One that doesn't need to eat or sleep. You're just always up and about. I would most likely get bored easily. And what happens when eventually the sun becomes a red giant bye and eats away the Earth? I'll be swimming in it for eternity since I won't be able to escape its gravity. That and only until it goes supernova and forms a black hole, and then I'll know what's inside it. But then I'll realize I won't have anyone to share this info with, and I'll just be a super sad boy floating in space forever. Story 12, hell no. Immortal = immortal. So odds are I would be floating for immeasurable time in the void after the heat death of the universe. I would be lucky if there was such a thing as a second Big Bang. All the ways I can interpret the world around me are human. I am a human. My psychology isn't built to last forever and watch everything around me die. What would interest me after 1,000 years, 200,000 years, billions of years? I would have become numb to all experiences and connections. True immortality, can't even take my own life, is one of the biggest curses I can imagine. Death isn't always our enemy. We are meant to die. Story 13. On surface level, absolutely not. I'm personally afraid of reincarnation being a thing, unless it specifically refers to living another life in another universe that, at the very least, exceeds the standards for living set by this one. I'm not saying it's impossible to redo another life on this planet and be happier than before, but I am saying the potential to do another life on this planet and it be horrifyingly worse is too great. I'm also keenly aware of this world's mortality past my own, which is a shattering piece of knowledge to live with, but it is what it is. Nothing is beautiful because it lasts forever. As the top comment in this thread pointed out, immortality in this world, just by the definition alone, meaning you, only you, live forever, will mean watching everyone you love pass, watching everyone pass, watching Earth change in its global and devastating ways, watching the sun render it uninhabitable, either slowly or instantly tearing it apart, watching the sun live out its stellar life as a white dwarf until it becomes a black dwarf and other neighboring stars vanquish in the dark, until, finally, an incomprehensible eternity later, you're in the dark with only black holes scattered in the cosmos, and all known forms of energy, life-sustaining resources, are gone. Even if you live long enough for humans to achieve interstellar travel, it won't change the fact that energy is finite. My one hope is that our perceivable universe as a whole is somehow comparable to a microorganism within a cell, being one of countless many, and the lifespan of ours doesn't mean the end of life at all. Story 14. Yes, I would hope it would be like either undead or unruined from undead unluck. Whatever I perceive as causing my death or bringing me to ruin is negated. I would love to see how civilization progresses over time, what new books, shows, and games are made, how culture changes, what technology is developed, if humans ever come into contact with aliens, etc. Something interesting, though, is would my sense of time shift to the point where a year feels like a day, similar to how Freeran perceives the passage of time? Unruin also technically has a death clause. If I eventually feel that I've gone too long and am now fulfilled, and accept death rather than reject it, meaning I no longer perceive it as my ruin. Story 15. I would probably say yes because I'm scared of death for sure. But on the other hand, floating around in the infinite abyss of nothingness, once the inevitable heat death of the universe happens, would probably be as equally as terrifying as death. You know what? Nah, I'm not going for it. Let's say an apocalypse happens, asteroid hits the Earth, and Earth is in a million pieces. Your body is just going to keep dying over and over and over again while floating in space until you eventually crash into a planet. At that point, you might just be stuck there until that planet gets destroyed. Let's say that the planet doesn't have oxygen. If you get stuck on that planet, you'll be dying over and over again from suffocation until that planet ends up getting destroyed. Question as well, do you not feel any pain? Do you regen? Or will your body just become indestructible once you choose immortality? I could talk about this for legit hours. I feel like immortality in the short term, like 100 to 500 years, would be sick. But in the long term, oh hell, no, immortality would be hell. Story 16. If we're talking of nepotent as Q in the Q continuum kind of immortality, I would have to say yes, but just so I could use my intelligence to help the people that no one else helps to create freely, knowing that there is no time limit. Make the impossible possible. But I have to agree with the other commenter if it's a limbo dead zone floating around in the dark. Nah, not so much. And although Adrian Paul in The Highlander is a very cool alternative, and I'm going to still go with, if I can avoid getting my head cut off, I'm going to let's go with stinking filthy rich in carbon fiber veil, where you can just buy another body. Story 17. I understand why people desire immortality. I too am terrified of what comes after death. But I think people don't really understand what immortality truly means. You'll outlive every single person you care about multiple times for eternity. And if, when TBH humanity finally goes extinct, you'll be on your own, living like a caveman by yourself until Earth itself collapses. And then you'll become a floating, bored piece of meat drifting through space. You'll eventually even forget why you enjoyed being alive so much. That sounds like a fate worse than death. Story 18. Yes, humanity has jumped in scientific understanding so much over the last 100 years. I would love to see what we can do with another 100, 500, 1,000, 10000, etc. Of course, I need to have a way out if humanity destroys itself and don't want to deal with aging, missing limbs, or the like. I found a near-perfect type of immortality in the undocumented features fan fiction universe called the Omega virus. It can heal any injuries, you don't age but can control the process if you desire in either direction, and you can die if you can be completely annihilated. Personally, I'd jump in a black hole for the hell of it when I finally get bored. Story 19, there are two types of immortality. Functionally immortal, you never get sick or age, just keep on living, but you can die. Invincible immortal, nothing can kill you ever. If I could, I would choose functional immortality and live long enough to see all the people I love die. If they had descendants, I would follow them. This may be hard if it became more than 150 people, but I would do my best, then shepherd them through life and help all of them from dying prematurely. I would remind them who their parents/grandparents/etc. were and what they loved. I would learn everything I could, be a doctor, physicist, carpenter, metalworker, space explorer, computer programmer, software engineer. Use these skills to help my family succeed. When the time came and everyone was gone, I would choose to die replicating Felix Baumgartner's supersonic freefall from space and burn up in the atmosphere without a complete suit or just take it off on my way down. My last moments staring down at Earth and my ashes would become part of a new cloud. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.